What's going on, you guys? Welcome to my review of Victoria 3. Now, I'm going to go over the pros and cons, and we're going to kind of go through everything. So, the first thing I wanted to kind of cover, guys, is this map. This map is a huge pro in my book. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It's just, yeah, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely just amazing. And then the second pro is if you zoom in, look at that. Look how beautiful that is. That is absolutely gorgeous. Uh, I do have a little qualms, like, that's too many buildings, right? Like, New York City in that time period did not stretch out all the way almost to the Hamptons, right? This is the Hamptons where the rich people live. Uh, but no big deal. It is weird that the map just keeps circling like that. Again, small little thing. It's no big deal. Uh, Another pro that I do like is there's a lot of things brought over from Victoria too, right? So you have the laws here. You can go in here and change this to Agarian, and so a lot of this stuff is brought over from Victoria too. Even this little pop-up window that you see here is from Victoria too. That texture, that color, and such. So I really appreciate that. That is thumbs up in my book. What other pros? So going into the budget here, I'm gonna have to mix it with some cons, right? So taxation level now is more simple, right? It used to be more in depth, right? You used to be able to tax the poor, the middle class, and the rich separately, right? You could tax the rich more or less. You could tax the poor high or low, depending. And you had the middle class. You could also move that around. Here it's just taxation level, and you just have five pieces, right, that you can do. Which I don't know why they did that. Why would you change it from a scroll wheel to this? And then I can't tax individual, standards, like the rich class and the poor class, whatever. So yeah, that's a con right there for me. Uh, let's see. The other things, the diplomacy section. I really love the diplomacy section. There is so much stuff here. Huge props to Paradox for this. Really love this. You can make a protectorate, bankroll, embargo. So there's so much stuff you can do. Um, in the diplomacy section. When Texas went to war, when they did the independence from Mexico, I started bankrolling Texas, which was really awesome. Like I could kind of bankroll them, give them the money, and to fight the war. I thought that was huge. I thought that was awesome. And another pro is that for the first time, Victoria 1, Victoria 2, whenever Texas and Mexico went to war, Mexico would always win because, they had the bigger army, eventually crushed the smaller army of Texas, and boom, that, I would have to get involved as the United States to, keep Texas, Texas. So they actually won. Mexico sent an army of 3,000 soldiers against Texas, who had 3,000 soldiers, and Texas won. And Texas became independent. They captured Santa Ana and, got their independence, which I thought was pretty cool. The only problem was, so I then went to Texas and I hit begin improve relations. This is where the first big con comes in. And this is probably a bug. As soon as I click that, I think maybe a few hours or maybe different evening or whatever, or one day happens. Texas automatically applies for statehood, becomes a state. Like I literally went here and it said state in the United States of America. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. They automatically became a state overnight. Literally not even overnight, just not even 24 hours. And then I went into where is this thing here? Diplomatic lens. And when I hit this, it had that I can make Texas a colony. And I was like, what? That doesn't make sense. I was like, all right. So I hit that, and I would say probably maybe 6 months ago. It says colony in Texas finally, became finally was colonized and now is a state. And I'm like, was a state before? How is it becoming a state if it was a state already? It's just really weird. So that was a. I'm hoping that's just a bug. uh, the other thing is I didn't understand the military system. Um, I did a stream and people helped me out. Big props to those of you that helped me out to kind of understand it. I am not happy with the military system. I'm very upset with it. For the reason being is so there's 460 conscripts. That's the reserve pool. You have 14 battalions, right? They're using battalions now, not brigades or divisions. I forgot which one. Vicky, I think Vicky did big brigades, but anyway. Uh, but the only thing is, you can't move these 8 battalions to like New England, right? You can't do that. They're active duty troops, but you can't move them. They are garrisoned in the South. So, like, if I click this, those troops in the Dixie HQ are garrisoned in Texas, Alabama, Georgia, but I can't move them to like Midwest or New England HQ. The only way you can do that is if you build more troops here, enlistment centers, whatever. Does not make sense. Sorry, it's a big con in my book because it's like they're active duty troops. I should be able to move them wherever I want. And the only way you can actually move the soldiers is if you go into a conflict like here, right? And, I had the Midwest HQ and I had to mobilize them. So I clicked mobilize. That's another con in my book. Why am I mobilizing active duty troops, right? So, like, for example, the 6th Ninth Infantry is based out of Manhattan on the 26th Street, I believe 26th Street, or in Lex, I believe. I'm not mobilizing them. They're excuse me. So let's take the 82nd Airborne. They're active duty troops. You would not mobilize the 82nd Airborne, right? You would take the 82nd Airborne and deploy them to wherever you need to. You're not mobilizing them. The Army National Guard, right, which are reserve elements, taking the 6th Ninth Infantry out of 26th Street and Lex, you do have to mobilize them, right, because they're reserve soldiers. So you're mobilizing them to deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan, which did happen, right? I would know because I was in the Army. You had papers that said mobilization, Yeah. So it's just very, very weird. And then they don't have like reserve. They're saying conscripts. It's a big change, when you think of conscripts, I always think of Russia because I mean they always talk about conscripts, which leads me to my other cons, and there's a quite a bit of them. So in Vicky 1 and Vicky 2, I know in Vicky 2 because I played a lot of Vicky 2. Um, Railroad wise, there was a little bit of a railroad in DC and I think New York City and stuff like that. So what I did is in Vicky 2 I connected all the railroads here. And then you know, the capitalists would kind of do the rest. I built railroads every so often like up here, to quickly move my armies up to Canada and stuff like that if I, just in case tensions with England was getting a little bit out of hand. I would build railroads where the capitalists wouldn't. But apparently in this game, from what I've been told, you have to build a railroad everywhere. And you build all the industries, like all the factories. Like the capitalists are not going to build factories. You build the factories. But once you build those factories, they become privatized. They're private factories. So like, let me go here. So wheat farms, whatever, New York. Where is this thing? Buildings. Yeah, there we go. So they're privately owned. So I'm building these factories and they're automatically becoming privately owned. Right? Why like and I think in Vicky 2 you could build factories, uh but the capitalists would also do that, right? Like you could literally do whole laissez-faire in Vicky 2 and just say I'm not going to build factories. I'm just going to let the free market do its thing. You could do that. And the capitalists will say, all right, well, there's a big demand for small arms, so we're going to build a factory in this state for small arms, right? But let's say you wanted to make, I don't know, uh, gunpowder, and the capitalists are not doing that. You could build that factory, and I believe they would take control. Um, and I did like that system, but here apparently you have to build everything, every factory, every railroad, and then that leads me to another con. There's a lot. So when I sent troops here to, I have this thing going on with the Comanche, I believe, right? Um, I had to mobilize soldiers from the Midwest HQ and the New England HQ, and then I sent them here, right? But on the main map, right, you don't see them actually moving, right? You don't see like the actual soldiers going like this, taking the railroad, and then getting here, right? You have to click here and it'll tell you how long they'll take. I don't know. That takes away a little bit of that realism. Like, I always enjoyed seeing the soldiers go where they need to go. And I understand that in this game, it's more you're the president kind of thing. But I still feel like you should be able to take active duty soldiers and put them on the border or see them actually move on the map. That's a huge con for me. Huge con for me. Uh, it's very like it takes away a lot of immersion, a lot of immersion. So like the economy system in some aspects have been uh s- made more simple. Using the term dumbed down in some aspects, like this. Uh, and I feel like if you're gonna take away the military section of the game, like take away that being able to move armies and stuff like that, it should facilitate wider expansion into the economy. All right, have more of a role in the economy and the politics and everything. But no, that's not like I remember in Victoria, you could go down and individual districts and see the population in there, right? Hit Protestant clerks and convert them into, I believe you were able to convert them into soldiers or officers or whatever. You can't do that here. So that's taken away. Um, I feel there's a lot of things that in the economy and development section were taken away from Victoria 2, more made more simple in Victoria 3, and the whole military section taken away from you. So the stuff that made Victoria 2 great and renowned were reduced in scope, and then the military section completely taken out. So yeah, I'm not at all fond of this. I really don't like the fact that I have to build all the factories and everything, and then it automatically goes into private ownership. Like, I really enjoy the fact that the capitalists would build their own railroad and expand the country. Like that was kind of like cool. I just I don't know. It was just very I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's just I do feel that a lot has been taken away. And then another person told me that in order to move a general from here to like the Dixie HQ, like if I want to move Winfield Scott from here to here, apparently somebody was telling me you have to retire them and then be able to move them here. So like I can't name this Dixie HQ to like Second Army or Southern Army. They become Dixie HQ. That's it. It's just weird. Like I don't know. It just I feel like a lot has been taken out. Like, and then the Navy section, again, you only have these four things. And I understand you're the executive, like you're the president, so you're not telling the Fifth Fleet where to go. But you know, President Lincoln did say like I want Wilmington blocked. I want you to attack Wilmington. You're not going to be able to do that. Um, I don't know, guys. Like, it's just I don't know, like I feel like honestly, for me to have it to build all the industry, all the logging camps, all the iron mines, what isn't that like a Soviet style economy, right? Because like that's not the U.S. economy, right? Like in the U.S. did not build all the railroads. They did not build all the factories. Like the like the U.S. did not build the Winchester Arms, or whatever the one that was in Richmond. They didn't build that arms factory, right? And then hand it over to a capitalist and say, "Here, enjoy," right? Like it was developed by capitalists, by investors. So I don't know. It's very strange, and I was getting very like upset on the stream because I was like, this does not make sense. This does not make sense at all. Like, and then one streamer was like, you don't need to build railroads in North Carolina. It doesn't need it. I was like, why wouldn't railroads exist in North Carolina? And it's just like, well, it doesn't need it. It just he said that railroads assist in the speeding up of mobilizing troops. So the railroads don't help moving troops too? Like it's just I don't know, guys. I honestly feel um I honestly feel like this is not I honestly when I first started the game and I saw all these different things, I'm like, "Oh man, look at all these different things." I'm like, "There's so much you can control." No, there's not. There's a lot less that you're controlling now than you were controlling then, in the other in Victoria 2. So you have less control over the economy and over industry and less control over everything, and then it's just yeah, this is not and then here you have to build everything from scratch, like and then so you're basically the Soviet Union, you're building the industries. I don't know. It's just a lot of that realism is taken out. I feel like you do need capitalists in this game to build their own thing, right? And then you should be able to station troops on the border, right, to increase tensions, right? Like in other Paradox games. Anyway, I'm getting long in the tooth. So my review is, I could tell you, like, I'm probably gonna play this game maybe a little bit, maybe. Uh, But I'll be honest, like to get to 5 hours, I had to force myself to play it because I could not understand it. I had to post on the forums like, how does this system work? And the streamers had to help me. And then when they told me how things work, I just was like, are you serious? Like that does not make sense. Because I was like, all right, I built the railroad here. I'm like, you're telling me that I have to build a railroad everywhere, that the capitalists are not going to do it. It just doesn't make sense. Just doesn't make sense, guys. Just doesn't make sense. Anyway, that's my review. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna continue playing it. I'll hope for a patch update. Maybe they'll add capitalists. That would be a huge thing where the capitalists can invest. That would be a huge thing. Hopefully they make improvements to the military system where I can move active duty soldiers, right, around, put them maybe station them on the border, or in a state. Then I'll come back to the game. But for right now, like I have no motivation, and I'm sorry, to the Paradox guys. I know you guys worked hard on this, but yeah, I'm not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. All right, catch you next one.